We'll call tonight's meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Thanks, and thank you for coming out tonight. I know it's an exciting night right before the election tomorrow, so thank you guys for spending your time with us. We appreciate it, whether you were forced to or not. Want to remind everybody to turn off your mobile devices, please. And I'm going to ask my good friend, Mr. Burground staff, to do the invocation for us.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another opportunity to serve the citizens of Mitchell County and do business of Mitchell County. Thank you, Father, for each person around this dais today, for each person in this audience this evening, and for all of our citizens, Lord, who are so kind and benevolent in all of their ways and means. We pray this evening that our meeting would honor you in every decision that's made, that we would give guidance and thought to the decisions that we make based on your Holy Spirit's prompting in our heart and life. Thank you for the opportunity I have personally had to serve my fellow citizens of this county over these 8 years of service. Lord, I do consider it an honor, and thank you for allowing me this time to do so. We love you. We thank you for Jesus, and it's in his name we pray. Amen.
And tonight we've got a special somebody I think I'd like to ask to lead our pledge of allegiance in honor of our disabled veterans and upcoming Veterans Day. So you don't mind leading the pledge, sir?
Don't mind at all. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I would also like to ask you, I heard that you have a very good talent. I would really love to see you perform the national anthem. So if you stand, we'll have a little ad hoc.
Please join me in singing our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed that the twilight last week? Bright stripes and bright stars, was fine. What was so gathered these streets, and the fragrance of the bursting inner gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Special business here. I'd love to see. Next thing on the agenda tonight, we'll please everyone make yourself aware of your ethics awareness and conflict of interest reminder. Here no conflicts to the agenda. Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda this evening?
Chairman, I move that we move out 10F the race car from the agenda.
There's a motion to remove the race car of Mount Reed from the agenda, so please, do you have a second? Second. All in favor, vote for the usual sign. So you'll please make note to remove 10F race car from Mr. Brown at Reed. Any other additions or changes to the agenda this evening? I have a move we adopt the agenda. So moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor, vote for the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes. Do I have a move that we approve the minutes? So moved.
Second.
All in favor, vote for the usual sign. Motion carries. The next item on the agenda this evening is A public hearing. The Mitchell County Tourism Development Authority budget hearing. Board will need to make a motion a second to enter a public hearing for the TDA budget hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we enter into this public hearing for the Mitchell County Tourism Development Authority.
Have a second. Second. All in favor of the usual sign? Motion carries. So we are in public hearing. Do we have anyone here to talk about the tourism? Let's see. Seeing none or hearing none, do I have a move we close these public hearings?
So moved.
The motion is second, all in favor of the usual sign? Motion carries. Next item on the list this evening is the employee of the month. So next thing we got this evening is the employee of the month winner for October 2022. She's also a mother that I know very well, and her daughter plays on my daughter's soccer team. So Miss Amber McKinney, the DSS Adult Services Social Worker. Unfortunately, she's not able to be here tonight. She has a sick child. Congratulations to Amber, who's been nominated and selected as the employee of the month for October. This recognition is for going beyond the call of duty of her role as a social worker within DSS. The social worker must be able to be intuitive to the needs of the people they serve and work to secure better life for every client. At its core, being a social worker is all about influence and change and making a difference in the lives of those that need services provided by DSS in our communities. Amber's demonstrated going above and beyond by working with a client who was at risk of eviction due to accumulated debris and trash outside of the home. As a part of her role, she coordinated for a company to leave the dumpster at the home. However, there's no one to clean up the trash and load the debris. Amber put together a group, including herself, to clean up the trash and debris and load the dumpster. Amber is consistently demonstrating her professional commitment to her job. Her passion, which inspires hope in those that are in need, shines through with all of her clients. In addition to her caring very much for her clients, she's knowledgeable and respectful of the clients' backgrounds. She's a team player and always willing to help out not only her clients, but also her coworkers when needed. Like everyone, please join me in congratulating Amber on being selected as the Mitchell County Employee of the Month winner for October. On behalf of the Mitchell County Commissioners of Mitchell County, and thank you for your ongoing care and professional commitment to not only DSS clients within the county, but also your partners within DSS. So give her a round of applause. Next item on the list this evening is a little recognition of service from my fellow commissioner here, Mr. Vern Grindstaff. So I've known Vern, known Vern for a while, but known him real good the last 4 years. And I've, it's been a pleasure, Vern. And I think I speak for everybody on this board for what you've done for Mitchell County. I mean, 8 years of service. I don't think anybody really can put that in their mind about how much time and commitment that you give in this county. And I'm very sad. I'll be honest. I see your family out here, so it makes me smile because I know you're gonna get to spend a lot more time with them. But I am sad for this board because we're going to miss you. Vern is my barometer of in life. Vern knows whatever little thing. When I ask him, I'll say, "Now, if this is gonna make somebody mad, who would this make mad?" Vern, and he knows exactly what group I'll get ready to step in the mud hole with. So, and I appreciate that because sometimes I don't really know. I just roll. So, I can say this, Vern, I know there's not anybody that would ever question how much you love this county and the amount of work you've done for it. And, I'm very sad to see you go, but I do want to say we surely appreciate you. And we got a plaque here for Vern and his family. I'll just read it. It says, "We're presented to Matthew Vern Grindstaff with sincere appreciation for 8 years of dedicated service given to the citizens and employees of Mitchell County while serving as a member of the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners. Thank you for your service 2014 to 2022. So I want to say thank you. I appreciate you, man. Yes, sir. You're welcome. Get a picture of that. Smile real big now, you can be on the camera. Feeling good. That's a ticket to get to see your daddy more.
Chairman, can I have just a moment of privilege? I want to say thank you to this current board that I'm serving with, and all previous boards. I've had the great opportunity to serve with, I believe, 3 boards, maybe? Is that right? So I think 3 boards over these 8 years, and getting to know all the boards, working with everyone, working with county administration and all the staff of Mitchell County. I consider myself probably one of the most blessed individuals on the face of the earth, not just because of that, but because of a plethora of reasons, including my family here and the county that I live in. It's not lip service when I say I do love Mitchell County. And I have had the opportunity to live outside of Mitchell County one time, and I did not like it a bit. And it made me appreciate the county that I do live in, all of our people. And I do appreciate Tiffany and Boyd and my entire family. As this board knows, it does take time away from your family. This is truly a thankless job sometimes, but it is a privilege to see the good things that comes to Mitchell County. And this board that I'm working with has the awesome opportunity to be able to do some really good things that this board has already put in motion. And it will make the lives of Mitchell County citizens much better when they're all accomplished. And I think that's a very exciting time for you guys as you continue to lead this county. And I appreciate Tiff sacrificing over these years, the trips to Raleigh and all the different things that county commissioners do. Does take time from your family. And I thank them. But I especially thank the citizens of this county for giving me this great and wonderful opportunity to serve y'all. Thank you from the depths of my heart. And God bless you, board, as you continue to lead this county for great things.
Thank you. Can I say? Mr. Chair, for this way, more comments concerning Mr. Kent. I think we do that here.
With happiness and deepest regrets. I am sad to see Vern, who is not only a fellow commissioner, but a very good friend that I have known for years. Vern actually, back in the day, going through Fruitland, worked for me, was a very good employee, and has been a very trusted friend through good and bad times. And that's the personal part of it. I know that he loves his county. I know that he has made a great sacrifice for the people of this county. And his love for the county is evident, because he's been the driving force behind a couple of projects that we're seeing come to reality. Tiffany, I'm happy for you and Matthew that you'll get to spend more time and family time, and that both of you will get to go to the soccer games and the team games and all the things that you're going to be able to do together now. as he gets older, because a lot of times there are meetings when your child has an event scheduled. And you're torn, do I represent the county that I was sworn to represent and do the due diligence of the people? And how do I explain that to my young one? That daddy's not gonna be able to come to your pocket. And that's hard. So thank you and little man for the commitment, Burns. Thank you sincerely, Bud. Like I said, you've been a very close friend. I feel very honored to have served with you for the last 4 years. This board, especially myself, is going to miss your knowledge and your leadership and your comments that you bring to us. So, like I said, my friend, I'm happy for you. I'm being selfish and I'm sad for me. So enjoy and don't be a stranger.
Thank you. Thank you. Kind words.
I just say, Vern, when I came on this board, I got to watch Danny Burleson for several months before I come on, and Danny Burleson left. I remember shaking Danny's hand and feeling, and I grew to have a lot of respect for him before he left this board. And I can say the same exact thing about you. When Vern decided not to run, he could have put it on cruise control and kind of made decisions that were easy, but he continued to come in here every day and work hard and fight some tough political battles and make the right decision again and again for the county. So, I appreciate the reliability of Vern and his loyalty to the county in this last leg of his long journey. I wish you and your family the best of luck in your upcoming endeavors. Thank you.
And I believe if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say that you only missed one meeting in your entire 8 years being on the board.
One meeting.
And I mean, that's a pretty amazing stat if I do say so myself there. So
Well, I don't know how royal words this gentleman do, but I'm very glad for that I've got to serve with you. I think the commissioner is very knowledgeable. I feel like all the commissioners I've ever met, this county, any other county, you are spot on with knowing what commissioners. I find it very inspiring and trying to do as my commissioners. You might be advised to them, but thank you because your dedication is very, very, very meetings. I don't think that people really put in perspective like you just come from. It's a very good deal in 8 years. So thank you for that commitment.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. We can sit here and tell you how good you are all night. But we can move on. Let's go. We'll move on.
Thank you also.
Next on the agenda tonight, we've got the tax collector's report. Good evening.
It's in your face.
You'll see me plenty. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the collection activity report for October 22nd. We collected $762,902.96. And our escrow funds are starting to flow. Actually, got 1.4 million today. Budget that's 40% collection. So we look for those.
I think I'm very previous years. Yes.
It's November, December is when we get our escrow. we have with the foreclosure attorney, 10 judgments been filed. But we won't see any activity on that until mid-January to the end of January before we can actually go to auction. So, and that amount right now is around $49,000. We will have to wait. Hopefully, these will sell over. Got one taxpayer this month has a offer purchase, so that will relate for closing. And the state attorney also is going to be paying on one closing out. So that's good for collection. That's around $9,000. And we'll continue to send out free foreclosure letters. And the payment agreements are being maintained as promised. So these payment agreements will be set up like June, July. We continue to pay, which is good. That's all I have. Unless you have anything else?
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda this evening, we got my friend Ms. Norman, thank you, talking about the senior Tar Heel age and mile way. Welcome, Mr. Norman.
Thank you for having me tonight, and it won't be the same looking up here and not seeing, thank you for all you've done from the people of the county.
Thank you for what you've done.
As you know, we had our meeting to bring to the body the 5 top concerns of the North Carolina. It's 100 counties, but we only had 85 counties participating. And we received 67 recommendations. Out of those 67 recommendations, we selected 5 and voted to have supplemental resolutions to also bring to the General Assembly. The first legislative priority was to allocate $8 million to adult protective services and recurring funds to address staff shortages and future staff needs. We learned, and I gave you all the statistics that go in your BOC, excuse me, that North Carolina rates number 9 nationally in population. That surprised me. And also ranked number 8 for age 65 plus population. So we are an aging state. And we're an aging county. And the allocation for the legislative priorities for the Adult Protective Service will help them to investigate concerns that comes in to the DSS, and it's particularly for the Adult Protective Service unit. The second legislative priority was to allocate $2.5 million for senior center operations in recurring funds. And there's 3 levels that we look at: uncertified, center of merit, and center of excellence. And we are hoping that our senior center will achieve one of these so that we can cash in on some of this money that federal government offers. The recurring funding we asked for because they wouldn't listen to us last year. So we only got a set amount. So this year we're saying recurring for the senior centers. The next, number 3, was allocate $8 million for home community care block grant. And this in recurring funds. This year we decided we'd ask for everything in recurring. It's better to ask for it and not get it than to not ask for it. This funds programs that supports the malnourished, homebound, dependent, and economically needy or the older adults. I think that Meals on Wheels averages $841. That's the average expense for one home delivered meal for a year. And in-home aid persons, 4,318 adult days Or, and then in the nursing homes, 4,075. Medicaid home, nursing home expenses is $27,846 per person per year. That means if you go into a nursing home, it costs you. And we found that our research discovered that if we gave money to the senior centers, then where they manage the in-home aides, that we could age in place, and I say we. It's much better if someone can go in and help the person bathe and help the person dress, or just check on them and give them some socialization. For $834, that beats $2,000 that would cost a day at a nursing home. The fourth one was to allocate 1.5 million for long-term care ombudsman. The ombudsman is the person that, she comes out of the COG, place of doom.
High country.
High country, thank you. And with her, you have community care advisory people that go with her and go into the nursing homes once every 3 months, and into the home rest homes also, and check to see how the residents are doing. Well, this was broken during COVID, and no one went in, and she or he was not allowed to go in. So we had a lot of ombudsmen that quit their jobs because they were so frustrated with phone calls from the community and from families, and they couldn't go in and check on that person. So now we are asking that they allocate 1.5 million so that we can hire more long-term care ombudsmen that can go into the nursing homes to check on their loved ones. That was a very trying time for the ombudsman. I tell you, you don't know how heartbreaking it is to go into a nursing home and you find people with no clothing on, no staff, and no food. And yet you are paying $2,748 a day for that service. The fifth one is establish long-term care staffing standards. CMS, or Centers of Medicare System, has a minimum of nursing that needs to be in long-term care, which is 1 nurse per week, 1 day. But they have nothing for certified nursing assistants. Certified nursing assistants make the minimum salary, and yet they do all the care for that individual that's in the nursing home. And they're just not there. They're burned out, and they are not working, and they don't have enough staff, and neither do we in our own area. So we are wanting more staffing with standards saying, yes, you will have this number of staff. Whereas Medicare would say, as long as the patient's needs are being met, that's enough staff. No, it isn't. Because when they look at it, it's for, did they get their medication? Yes. But that's as far as it went. They got 3 meals a day, medication. We want some care given to the residents. We want someone to sit down with them, spend time with them, and talk with them. I could go on and on. You see, my passion is for the senior citizens. I will keep you because it's a long agenda. I could go on and on and on, but I will shut up. I want to leave you with a word of thought, though. We need each other. You need someone, and someone needs you. Isolated islands, we are not. To make this experience called life work, we've got to learn and support, relate and respond, give and take, confess and forgive. reach out and embrace, release and rely. God gives us gifts for the benefit of others, and that's why each of you are up there, giving of your time and talents to lead our county. And that's why I'm here, is to advocate for the senior citizens, that we care about them, and that as we visit them, we love them, and we want nothing but the best. And as long as there's breath, there will be an advocacy for better things for the aging population. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Norman.
Thank you.
Next item we got is, pending Ms. Sherry Gillespie, for the audit report.
Yeah, I would like to begin by thanking you for allowing me to work with you again this year. I was trying to think back, my first year helping on the audit of Mitchell County was 1988. So I have been either lead auditor or a helper for a very long time. So that, with that being said, I know that it gets boring looking at these 93 pages of numbers. So what I want to do is go through this and just tell you how to read this document yourself, and then go back and maybe look at a couple of the key numbers with you. So if you will, if you'll start out by flipping back to about the third page of your audit, and I guess you have it on your devices. So it's the auditor's opinion. And so this is the pivotal document in audit. This is where you passed or failed the audit. And in the middle of this page, and I apologize, the footer cut off the page number, but it should be, I think, page 4. In the middle of this, it says, in our opinion, based on our audit, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of Mitchell County. Had we had problems during the audit, or had you not passed the audit, had we had what's called a scope limitation where you didn't provide all the numbers that we asked for, or any of those things, this paragraph would read differently. So this is your passing grade on your financial audit for the year. And you may have noticed the auditor's opinion has gotten a lot longer. We have changing standards every year. So this is broken up this year into sections. It's got, the next page has responsibilities of you as management, and then it has the responsibilities of me as an auditor. And then you go on to the disclosures about all the other stuff that wasn't really audited in this document. So just lots of new language, always changing audit standards. But instead of looking at page by page, if you'll go to page 8, if you'll remember from prior years, this one is your management discussion and analysis. And this is about 8 to 10 pages of condensed financial information. So if you didn't want to go through this whole document, you could tell pretty much what happened financially in the county by these next several pages. So on page 8, we have 5 bullets here. And if we look down to the third bullet, this one is always of interest. It says at the close of the year, the governmental funds reported ending fund balances of 9.3 million, an increase of 83,578 in comparison with the prior year. So if you look at all your inflows and your outflows for the year, as far as revenues and expenses, you were to the good 83,000 more than the prior year. So so that is a positive, because actually when you were budgeting, you thought it would be, much worse than that. Got a few extra grants in, so so that helped quite a bit.
Ms. Gillespie, can I interrupt you for a moment?
Yes.
Can you help me reconcile the bullet before that says that the net position decreased by $514,314 the current year? And then it says, the next bullet says an increase of 83,578. So
Yeah, these audits, they start out confusing you. But okay, so you go back to governmental accounting has 2 types of accounting. One type is the current flow method, and that is the dollars that come in one year and the dollars that go out. And that is exhibit 3 and 4 of your audit. At some point, maybe 8 or 10 years ago, the Government Accounting Standards Board said, that's not enough. We need more information about these governments. We need to know the stuff that they own, what they owe, everything. We need to look at them as if they are a regular business. So they came along with this, GASB 34 was the pronouncement. And it had us look at governments as if they were a business. So exhibit 1 and 2 of this document look as if you were a business, and exhibit 3 and 4 look at the current dollars in and current dollars out. So when you read these bullets, of course, you're looking at 2 different bottom lines, the first 2 bullets, and it starts out confusing. But if you look at it, if you were a for-profit business and you were running this like some of you run your own businesses, you would have had a decrease. You would have had a loss for the year of 514,000. And that loss is made, happened not because you overspent money, it's because you have these studies that say you might owe pension funds of certain dollars, you might owe health care certain dollars. So all these things are coming into play. There was no money going out for these things, but it all comes into play if they were looking at you as a regular for-profit business. So that may not make sense, but basically, as a commission, your major goal is to look at just the current money in and current money out. So for what you budget, that 83,000 is more what you're looking at. But if you were a true business, you'd have to do some different planning because you're being whole 514,000. So, and we'll look at that just a bit more, but a lot of times we talk about fund balance and having a healthy fund balance in a government. So this 4th bullet here says at the end of the year, the unassigned fund balance for the general fund was 29% of general fund expenditures. So keep in mind that local government commission, a fair fund balance is 20%. You are a troubled unit if your fund balance gets down to 8% or below. So, and I did not look at the statistics, but if you went on the local government website, you could see what other counties the size of Mitchell County have as far as their fund balance. If you wanted to see how you stacked up with other counties, I think that's usually at least 1 year behind right now, maybe 2 years behind as far as statistically. But that's a good resource to see how Mitchell County looks in comparison with others. But 29% fund balance is above the minimum, of course, and above the standard of 20%. The 5th bullet here, Mitchell County's tax collection rate remains strong. It was 97.51 and had increased from the previous year of 96.81. And that tax collection rate is also pivotal for you guys because that's where you get your money that you are in charge of spending. A lot of the money that comes through these doors, you're not in charge of spending, but those tax dollars you are. So you want that collection rate to remain very high. If you will, instead of looking at the rest of this NDNA, if you will turn over to page 19. This is exhibit 3. This is your balance sheet. And this one measures just what you can quickly turn into money or cash and what you owe currently. So this one doesn't look at your buildings and your long-term stuff that you may or may not owe as far as healthcare. And you can see if you compare this to prior years, you can see it has a few more columns this year. The general fund always has a column on its own. It stands alone. But there are these calculations where if you get in large sums of money, it has to have its own column. So the first extra column we have this year was for your American Rescue Plan money, your not ARPA, but ARP money. And this is 2.9 million. This is not part of your fund balance because you had not spent it yet as of June 30, 2022. So it is sitting there as unearned revenues. It's not part of that 29%. If you look at the third column, the FCIF Capital Outlay Fund, this is the state capital infrastructure fund for the sheriff's renovations for the sheriff's department. So there again, because you had not spent this money as of June 30, 2022, it is not part of your fund balance.
I'm sorry, that's what it's. So the $2.9 million is part of the ARPA fund, and you're saying that is not calculated for that 29% fund balance?
And the same with this, with the grant for the sheriff's department. It is not part of the fund balance. Those are standalone funds that are calculated totally separate from your general fund. So this, the far column here, the other non-major funds, this is everything smaller that's lumped into one column. So this is your E911, your fire tax, CDBG. So anything that is not the general fund or these other two funds is all, because it's smaller, we're required to lump it into one column here for presentation. But you can see, just starting out, cash and investments for the year in your regular funds, it's not restricted, it was 9.1 million. But in the next column down, you have restricted cash of 7.9 million. And that again, those two big pots of money that you have to spend the way you're told to spend them. But looking down the line, you'll see the unassigned fund balance in the general fund. That's the one that you as a board have the most control over. And that was the 6.4 million that we just mentioned that represented that 29%. Talking about the two different methods of accounting, the current flow and then the full accrual method, which is the business type method. If you look at how we get from the current flow method over to the accrual method, this reconciliation on the bottom of page 19 tells you we go from this inflows and outflows, and then we add in, for example, capital assets. That's all your buildings and equipment. We add in right to use assets, which is a new item this year. This is the leased equipment because you have the right to use that equipment. Net pension liability. This is the, if the doors had closed June 30th and the state had to pay out all their current pension liability, Mitchell County would have had to kick in $1 million. So all these accrual type things that are happening that don't really affect you right now are here on the bottom of the schedule. If you'll turn to page 20, where the balance sheet showed all your inflows and outflows, or what you had on hand at June 30. Page 20 shows your inflows and your outflows for 1 year. And again, we have these same columns, and you can see under the American Rescue Plan Fund, we only have $886 there. Well, you know, you've got almost $3 million. But the fact that you have not spent it yet, local government commission says we have to call that unearned revenues, and it's not even here. That's why it's not in your fund balance. It's not anywhere on this particular schedule. But if you want to know more detail about what makes up Exhibit 4, and that's going to be true of anything in this audit, you go from the back of this is very specific to the front is all combined. So Exhibit 4, you can turn to page 65 to Exhibit B1. And for example, this just says public safety. It does not tell me how much you spent on communications. It doesn't tell me that. But if I go back to Exhibit B1, I can see that kind of detail. This says other taxes, but it doesn't tell me what those other taxes are. Exhibit B1 will. So again, we go from consolidated here to very detailed toward the back in each of these columns. But if you look down the line, you've got your general fund for the year within the whole, and there's 49,000. Your other funds, the supplemental smaller funds, had an excess of 231,000, causing your overall $83,000 profit for the year. Now, general fund, when compared to last year you had an excess in general fund of 665,000. So it looks like it really went down, and it did. But remember, last year you got a lot of COVID grants and those things, and I think it's probably over $1 million between transportation and some of the different COVID money. So the fact that this went down was not concerning, it was actually expected, because that was an extra inflow in 21 that we won't have in the future. Again, the next page, page 21, is your bridging document to get from the current flow method over to the other Exhibit 2. So if you're interested in what all you have to do from the accounting angle to these numbers on exhibit 4 to get them over to exhibit 2. This page 21 will let you know. There are only a couple of other pages I wanted to point out, and I think I've already mentioned this, page 82 is your tax collection rate. And there again, a strong collection rate, 97.51, and we are, comparing it to 96.81 in the prior year for Mitchell County. Overall, small counties the size of Mitchell County had a collection rate of 96.99, but that statistic was as of June 30, 2020. So it has not been updated since then, so we don't know what 21 held. But overall, you're either right in line or a little above other counties of this size as far as collections. And the last page I wanted to point out is so small, I hope you have Zoom, but it's page 93. And this is your schedule of expenditures of federal and state awards. And I point this out because I just feel like it's an interesting thing to think about. Over here, when we looked at exhibit 4, we saw about $23 million flowing through Mitchell County. And that a small part of that was property taxes. I mean, everybody says, oh, my property taxes, but that's only a small part of what's happening in the county. So you have 23 million flowing in over there. Then this schedule shows how you spent almost $4 million on page 93. But this tiny little note over number 3, benefit payments issued by the state, I put this in to show how many dollars are expended at the state level on behalf of citizens of Mitchell County. And you can see, I actually added these all up, and they come up to about $48 million. So there's $48 million that never passed through the finance office that is coming directly to citizens of Mitchell County through Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, adoption assistance, all those programs that fund people directly are not included because they don't pass through your finance office. But just in thinking about, I pay my taxes and what happens to them, you know, it costs $48 million extra to run Mitchell County. So I just always think that's interesting. Maybe because I'm a nerd, I don't know that. But we have the management letter that we always put loose in the back of the document, and we always take an opportunity to point out anything that we found that could help strengthen your accounting processes. And really, we had nothing, no findings, nothing to talk about. The second page of your management letter says we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control over compliance that we consider to be material weaknesses. And that is their accountant way of saying we had no findings. So, so again, you know, it's just been, you're one of the best clients, easiest clients I have to work with. I know that down at Local Government Commission, we are always, maybe not always, but we're generally the first county to submit the audit, because all these other counties are scrambling around trying to get their numbers together, and your finance office has the numbers. And so, you know, it's very unusual to have an audit in even before October 31st. So Mavis does a great job in staying on top of that and getting everything done with that. And some of you may have heard this, but I will not be bidding on your audit.
Sharon, I was gonna say that, I wanted to say it, when we look forward to the next 10 years, will you and Mavis keep continuing to take us on before, I wanted to catch you before you said that. Good try.
And I hate to not take on some of the audits, but they are making the state boards and some of the things, they're making it really hard for the small practitioner to continue to do audits. They're making it really expensive and just really, really difficult. So I am, while I'm still doing smaller audits.
It's about you, it's me.
We hate to see you go, and I understand.
I'm certainly available, you know, and I've told Mike, anything at all, if anybody wants to sit down and look at your audit in the future with me or any questions that come up, I'll be glad to help anyway.
You've done an amazing job. Like I say, I know it's a reflection of our finance department and the team that you guys are. So Mavis has been sad for And she said this may put her into retirement. I told her there's no way, so she, I don't know if I can talk her off those ledges or not, but I really hate to see you go. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, got no worries with another auditor, because anybody's gonna be very pleased to you and all these records.
But we sure appreciate it.
So Freeland, could you maybe speak to this board about the TDA and what is gonna be expected in an audit as far as what we can and can't be done for? Since we're getting that started.
Okay, yeah.
So that we're all on the same page.
Right. I audited a couple of TDAs, so pretty familiar with the way all this works. Of course, you'll have to have, even though this is going to be a standalone entity, you're in control of it. So, you know, it has to have its own board, its own budget, everything has to be as if it was not affiliated with you, but it is. So the pre-approval process, the invoices, everything has to be just exactly the same as you have here. The big thing with the TDA that you have to worry about is the regulations say that you have to spend 64%, 67% on direct promotion and 33% on indirect. So it becomes, if you have a lot of occupancy tax, it becomes a little hard to spend on direct promotion, because that's a pretty narrowly defined word. Direct promotion was easier before we had social media. You could do commercials, billboards, anything that directly got the word out about Mitchell County's rental market. But now that we have all this free social media and all these platforms, it's a little bit harder. So, I mean, I had a client who wanted to renovate their parks and rec. They said, well, people come and they use our park, and we want to use a whole lot of money to make that park better. Well, that's not direct. So, you know, we had to write them up. So there's that fine line between what's direct and what's indirect. So, really,
Direct, because you've done it with the, because you use.
you could, if you had enough indirect money, you could do it, but in this case, they flip-flop, they spent like 80% on that kind of stuff instead of 33%. So that's where you get into a lot of trouble, because you've got to do a lot of money, and you're thinking, how many marketing plans and how many things like that can I actually do to use this money? So you have to make sure that you've got a really good advisory board and some good planning on how to use the money and stay within statute. And your attorney can probably speak to this too. There was supposed to be something in legislation right now, because this is such an old law. There's supposed to be something that says these percentages are antiquated. It's hard to spend it this way. So a lot of the smaller TDAs petition for this to be on the docket to see if they could change those percentages, or at least change the wording on how things were spent. So I don't know the status of that right now, but it's something that most of the small TDAs in the state are looking forward right now, hoping that works.
That was introduced in the General Assembly, but did not get a hearing.
Okay.
But you're correct that is a ongoing request by DBAs to change the percentages.
So Sharon, would it be, for instance, if you have a business and you set up a business page on Facebook, when you go in there to do a promotion for your business, it charges you to do that.
Right.
Is that direct promotion or is that not?
I would
That
consider
would
that
qualify
direct.
direct.
Yes.
Trust me, that's expensive.
On this money, can that be, applied for salaries or payroll for employees?
The indirect part, if they are involved in some capacity with tourism, can be. You would have, like, one example we talked about is if you had an employee who was 100% there for tourism related questions, that would be legitimate for a direct. But it definitely has to be, you know, somebody who is spreading the word about the county to other people. It cannot be for the benefit of the county, like my Parks and Rec. It can't go to a specific thing that is going to benefit maybe some tourists, but it's also going to benefit the county.
I just wanted this all, it's good information.
That may or may not help, but that's my take on it.
Sharon, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Next on the agenda this evening, we got a couple of public comments. First one is my friend Steve Rowland for the library facade.
As a citizen, Mitchell County, I just wanted to bring something to your attention. I think it needs to be addressed, and I thank you for the time to speak with you this evening. I'm also on the library board of Mitchell County, so I'm very much aware of what goes on with the library and where the needs are there. But one thing that has not been addressed in several years, and my understanding there were plans in place to address it, but it has not been. Those have fallen through, and that is the actual appearance of our Mitchell County Library. If you go by there, there's a temporary facade at the top, and several years ago, there was a hole cut in that facade. I think it was a guinea or some type of bird that got stuck in there, and the fire department cut a hole. Well, we have been told several times that hole was going to be repaired. And the Mitchell County Library is owned by Mitchell County and maintained by Mitchell County. The buildings themselves belong to the county, so it's up to the county to maintain those structures. And anyone coming through Bakersville will see this huge hole in this facade right above the library entrance. And I would ask that the board take some action to get that resolved quickly rather than waiting 3 or 4 more years.
Well, that was addressed 2 years ago and we granted
I thought we.
the money that was supposed to be fixed.
It has been fixed, so then thank you for bringing it there.
I want to bring it to your attention. Thank you.
We'll look into that. I do remember us.
Yeah.
Voting to do that.
You said over Harlem, you can look out the window, there it is.
Mr. Ron Lee?
Yeah, he had to get on BOC.
Gotcha. Well, we will, Mr. Chairman.
On that first item Mr. Rowland brought to the board, I know we've already done it, but can we as a board once again authorize the county manager tomorrow to begin to get that fixed?
Yeah, I'll just give you a little history on that. I worked with a group that was supposed to fabricate a an aluminum fixture to be fit over that hole. I was waiting to hear back from those folks. If I don't hear back from them, I might go ahead and just have maintenance, get a list, go up there and do whatever it takes to get it. So it's on my priority. Let's see.
And even before that, I'll say that was going to be fixed when the windows
Yeah.
were replaced at the annex. They were going to rent a lift to do both projects at the same time. And then if you will recall what happened with that situation. And so it
Did
never.
let me ask you while we're on that subject, did we ever find the windows that he had purchased for the extension?
Nor did we never paid for them.
Yeah, I understand. I think he had paid for it.
Supposedly he had ordered and supposedly he had paid for them, but I don't think anyone from his family were, supposed to be researching that issue. I never heard.
The last thing he told me at lunch there at the restaurant was he was waiting on one single window that was above the visitor center to come in before he put those windows up. So. He was just waiting.
was located those windows, I think the plan was again, we would have purchased those.
Well, we had it worked out to
Yeah.
where
Right.
the contractor was gonna honor his price and do the work. So. Where do we go from here? I know I'm jumping off the rabbit trail on something that we had talked about a year and a half ago, because we had issues.
I think it was in the budget 2 years ago.
Uh,
Are those funds still allocated, may move forward, or which we allocate?
We could reallocate them. At the end of last year, we were at a dead end with it, so we did not rebudget them for this year because it didn't quite. And, you know, we were at that time also concerned about the future of that building, whether we were going to occupy it or not much longer. So
So probably a good idea for me to hear maybe see if they want to run us on that.
yeah, I mean, it's, I don't wanna be negative, Jeff. Here, but, we're county owned building with our extension service in there, the appearance, the outside appearance. Uh, It's not the prettiest. I mean, I hate to say that, but there's some issues, and I know that further down the road, we've all had talks about when the new school was built, we occupied the Bowman side, and, a lot of different things that could transpose and take place. So, I agree that we don't need to spend a lot of money. But, how much money are we losing with heating and air because of the way that it's currently set up? And plus, you want it to be, you want your staff to enjoy going to work at the place instead of drinking. I mean, like I said, I don't be negative Jeff tonight, but it's a little bit of an eyesore.
Since Commissioner Harding has brought it up, and since I'm leaving.
You can really.
I'm just gonna put this out there, right? I've spoken to the county manager about this over the last 6 months, I know, and I've brought it up several other times and maybe mentioned it to some of y'all on the board, but since Bakersville and Visitor Center folks have done such a great job of putting a really attractive visitor center in our town. And since you pull right up to the red light and stare right at the building when you're sitting in town, and since it is somewhat of an eyesore, I have for a long time advocated that we get the windows put in, we get rid of the air conditioners hanging out of the building on the side, put mini splits in or something of that nature, and that we whitewash the brick that's worn out on the side of the building and faded, and make that a really attractive centerpiece of the town. Because when you sit in front of the red light, you are glaring at this building with rust dripping down the side of the building from the air conditioners hanging out the windows. And I mean, it could be a really attractive building with just a little bit of a facelift,
And get rid of them god awful looking picture doors. It looks like you're going in the cell blocks and outside those metal doors. I mean,
And it does deserve the attention. I think that this board and previous boards have talked about that building, and I have for a long time advocated giving it to the town of Bakersville and letting them assume the responsibility of the building if we had other places to put the offices in there. But if we don't, if we want to keep the people in the building that's in the building, then we really need to give the building the due diligence it deserves, since it is a centerpiece of the town of Bakersfield.
Steve, you've got all kinds of discussion stirred up, but you. But I think it's very good discussion. It sounds like the resolve is that basically we're gonna fix the hole. And then you're gonna look at getting some pricing to, with the windows. And then also what Vern's talking about, I'm fine if you get a price to.
Well, if we're doing board comments, and since we're on the subject of downtown, I actually spoke with Rhonda Gunn today with the Historical Society. She had asked about memorial to the jail fire, there being placards put back in place. Memorializing the folks that perished in that. She said that there was one there years ago, but it was taken out, called again, and never restored. So we can get a quote on that as well.
Thank you for that.
I didn't know anything about us still having that option. So, but if we get
We put that in there, I think so.
Was it private citizen?
I think.
Yeah, I think it was private. I don't think we ever did.
She said she gets asked when a lot of folks come in the office there and ask what that memorial represents. So.
Yes.
Any other board comments? Well, yeah, just saying.
Mr. Manager, where are we at on the new sign for the courthouse entrance, the new sign for the administration yard?
I talked to Chase with Pittman Signs, and he was to get me a rendering of what they would look like. But he has not sent that. I followed up with him, I guess about a month ago on that. And I have not seen that email come in. I'll give him a call and see if he's got anywhere on getting me my renderings. I was going to get some renderings and let the board take a look at those, but it is on his radar, but.
And not to bombard you,
But
but
that's all right. We put them down on the list.
the new Mitchell County signs for the welcome entrances, I know we've slowly been getting those put up. Are we any closer to the Rome Mountain and the Green Mountain? Those
That
signs,
is, when I called him about the design phase of those, he did tell me he finally got the one up towards the parkway. So I think the southern end of the county has signs in place. I look for them often when I go up, as I drive around on the northern end of the county, and they're not there yet.
not
So
there yet.
when I follow up with Chase on the design, I'll also follow up with what's going on with those signs.
Thank you, sir.
Well, you know, I don't want to start the cat and poke the pig, but I'm going to.
I'm going to put a bounty out on Stephen.
I understand everybody's needs. I also understand it shouldn't have taken this long. It would be my opinion that we also give another sign company the opportunity to do the sign this year. And we'll give a price on that in the courthouse.
Okay.
And I do know we have one that lives in the county that's taxpayer, which county. So that's just my opinion. But maybe should we pay for all those county signs, or if we just pay for them, say, what from which county?
What was the original one that we chose? When you remember, was it three or four?
I think we paid for all of the wooden signs
Right.
and then the metal signs that would go on the Iron Mountain and Green Mountain and Bobby, those are not paid.
No, we just paid for the original. That was back when Mickey was here and
And if I may mention, since our EDC director is sitting here, with my spot on the EDC board, I had talked to the EDC about a partnership to get lighting on all of those signs, those wooden signs. So Matt, just be aware that EDC had agreed and needed an estimate. So I'm gonna put that in your ballpark to work with Matt on those estimates. How's that?
Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
May I add a comment about the signs? Up at the Iron Mountain, there's no sign that shows you North Carolina or Mitchell County either. But some of the signs that has went up that way before has been stolen. So as we're putting them up, we need to keep that in mind if there's a way to secure them better or something.
Maybe we should ask Danny, or, well, that would be Pittman Signs, I guess, to source some quick treatment around, when they put those in.
We can talk about that. There's some requirements.
Oh, they do, don't they? Yeah, they come.
But these are big metal.
Well, these are metal, and that was the purpose for getting these metal, but they do. But we were aware of the vandalism, and that's why we're choosing metal signs on.
I think we went past vandalism to Washington.
Yeah.
Didn't we talk about maybe changing the location where they were at, maybe more visible?
I think we had talked about moving to the old market store or something. So,
Somewhere there, it's-
Yeah.
Jurisdiction wise, it'd be nice to have something at the very top of the mountain, though, actually showing you where the state line is.
we would hope the state would put up, welcome to North Carolina, and maybe we need to reach out to them.
They put up some,
Mention.
put that on your agenda.
Mr. Manager, maybe we need to reach out to NCDOT about welcome to North Carolina sign.
I'm gonna suggest we can keep on doing that. We'll get back to our agenda.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Alan's got enough to keep him busy for the rest of the month.
Right, buddy, they got me booked up now.
Next item.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate it, Steve. Next item we got tonight is the part of grant, contract, and it's basically, I just need a motion to allow me to sign that grant contract.
Second.
All in favor, vote for the usual sign. Thank you. Take care of that.
Steve, you could point out that that is the $500,000, please, part of grant, which we have allocated $500,000 match to. However, there is a time limit on this grant, and also the commitment that the project be completed 100%.
And I thought we went back and as long as we have started and we have it in motion,
You need to read the final back page, attachment B. That shows that this, has to be completed by October 31st, 2025. And it involves the entire project. So the grant is actually $500,000. And the match, and it doesn't matter where this match comes from, is $3.9 million. Which of course we needed 500,000 as a county, and we got 2 million from the state. So there still is a deficit. What, about 1.5 million that we have to raise or get grants for the county. I just want to make sure that the board's aware of those conditions of this grant when Steve signs it, please.
thank you for doing that.
The future board may not, remember.
It's big. I mean,
So we're under the time frame.
the time piece of it is the hard part.
That extra money has to be raised by that contract.
Has been the project.
The project has to be 100% complete.
Oh, okay.
The scope of work is spelled out in that scope of work attachment B for this time.
So, I mean, we're just voting tonight to accept the money from the part of grant.
And you're,
And so, the way I foresee this shaking out is we continue with fundraising, and if we don't acquire the funds, we need to completely build the project. Then it would stall out, and send that $500,000 back. Would there be a penalty attached to it?
I don't think that's so.
Folks, we wanna do
Let's
this.
not be all negative about it.
We're gonna pull, this thing's gonna be pulled off. We're gonna have a brand new recreation facility in base before the paper. I'll guarantee it'll be up to 2025 with my son.
I'll go ahead and tell
I'm
you
very confident with that statement.
a little bit in the county manager report later, but the basics on that is, special projects manager Heiss and myself, Brock Duncan, Stan Cook. We are fast tracking this. We're in site selection right now. We've done drillings on 2 sites. We're going to do financial analysis on what site is most cost effective to build on and be in budget. We hope to start taking out bids for grade work and site amendment as early as March or April, hopefully sooner. And then we have to be going in and in that same time frame getting RFQs on this. So we're gonna move this project fast. So I feel confident that we can do it in 3 years or the time frame that they have on that grant. You'll be surprised when we start moving this project that we will get it done quickly as we move in the need for more funds. I think we can really move pretty far into this, and I do feel confident that we will get funds on this.
And I agree, I feel confident it's gonna happen too, but I like to know worst case scenario, what would happen if it failed, so.
But realistically, what do you say, Mike? It's 3.9 million?
Three is the match. So the project's what, about four, we were estimating somewhere around 4.4 million, if I remember correctly. But we don't have prices. That was just the estimate and the preliminary estimate. Until we go out for proposals, we really don't know the exact price.
But realistically, guys, we've got $3 million in hand, okay?
Right.
Now, I'm not, you know, I may be crazy, but I'm not concerned. This thing's not going to become a reality. And I think it's going to happen sooner than later. I honestly believe that we'll be able to find the money. Whether it be through possibly some coming in from Raleigh and local entities within the county. I think we're going to have $5 million to build recreation complex. And I think it'll be up and running in 3 years, by 2025, or maybe a little bit less.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman, the remedy is, as Mr. Pittman has said, if you do not meet the match requirements, you'd be required to refund the state their money. There's no interest or penalty attached to it. It's simply a refund.
Okay. So there's no downside accepting the grant, I'm gonna build this project.
And they don't actually send us the money. It's a reimbursement basis. And so we had already talked about doing this piece last. We'll do the state grant first and exhaust it, and then we'll go to this piece. So it's actually a reimbursement type grant, so.
Sure, I have some questions before we get.
Okay.
So when reviewing the contract, I noticed in the project scope, and I know that Brock has said before that the fields and stuff are included in this, but I noticed that in this, under the project scope on this first page, on page 1, and then again, under the, I guess the attachment B, the scope of work, it doesn't list the ball fields. So is that still included?
I would have to ask on that, but
I mean, I know that you said before, I just didn't know if it,
I'm with you. I know it's been, it's always been part of it, but I don't know.
So site prep and site amenities now, I don't know to what point that will go from the maintenance.
I think $4 million includes, project includes. And bonds.
and then I did have just one other question as far as like, who is responsible for providing the oversight on this project? Is that you, Alan?
That will be myself and special projects manager Will Tice.
Okay.
And the financial aspects will be to our finance.
I think Will's basically the project manager along with you. That's the way I view it. The project team and from the finance department and get forward if need be, can drag in there too. But you've got pretty good counsel representing in the project's manager role, so.
I think when they apply for that, they had a county manager in place. Yeah. That was the early one. Yeah.
Those are just my two questions. I just wanted to, I just make sure the ball fields are included in all that.
Like I say, my understanding is the answer is yes, but we can verify that out and don't mind to make sure if we need to add it there, we can. Amend it, matter.
You said it was sensitive.
Ball fields, faucet trees, filters, splash pad, pickleball court.
It calls out all of those things, it just doesn't call out
Yeah,
the fields on there, so.
It's still for him to draw.
Yes. So,
Not call out the splash pad or the football courts either. That was on the draw. That would be included into your assumption too.
I
that,
didn't know how specific rates are.
Well, and I'll
Since
say
you
this,
brought it up, I'd like to know too, does that include that?
We don't.
The more
want it to
vague
be
that-
that specific.
the more
To be
vague that
honest,
scope
The more vague it's
is
going to
better.
be, the better we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, we would rather have it more vague if we had to have an exit strategy like you spoke of.
Like if we had to
If
delay.
it's vague, we got a
piece
gray
of
area.
it. Yeah.
But it's okay as long as we're all under the understanding that it includes all these things.
Anything to that. It's snack materials. But I do stand by my original motion of accept. the audit grants.
Second,
all in favor, vote for the usual sign. Motion carried. Next item on the list tonight is the TDA proposed budget ordinance. Ms. Megan Fletcher, is going to talk about that.
Okay, if you remember when we did the original budget, the TDA, of course, board had not been formed. So what we're doing at this point in time, because this will be a component unit of Mitchell County Financial. And so what we are asking you to do is to review this budget ordinance for just the Mitchell County Tourism Development Authority fund. And we have drawn up a budget ordinance that I will need you to hopefully approve. And then this next year, of course, this will be added into our regular budget ordinance that we do every year in June. But because this was not formed until July, this is going to be an addition. And last year, we earned about $145,000 in occupancy tax. That money was transferred, of course, directly to the Chamber of Commerce. So this year, those funds, and we don't know what it's gonna be, but I'm estimating somewhere around $150,000. We will actually deposit it in the TDA fund, and that board will make decisions on spending that. But this is just, the first piece is just the budget ordinance, to get it in to our new fund for the TDA. And I need a motion to approve that, please.
so moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, vote for the usual sign. Motion carries.
And Taylor's got that ordinance for you to sign, and I just be aware that each one of you need to sign that. It's like the original budget ordinance, you'll need to sign.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Okay.
Davis. When did the occupancy tax funds quit going to the chamber?
June 30th,
June 30th.
funds that we started receiving July 1st, we held, and we are still in hold of those funds.
Okay. So it basically started at new fiscal year. All right, just one question.
The next item we have on tonight's agenda is the new bank account for the TDA.
And part of the requirement of the component unit, which Sharon touched on just a little bit, and I'm going to touch on just a little bit. These funds will be included in our big audit, our Mitchell County audit as a component unit. But these funds will also be audited separately. They will have their separate audit, which they are a government entity, and that audit will be done at that time. Same time we do ours. But part of this is we had to open a new bank account. And I need you to approve the new bank account that we've had to open for Mitchell County TDA. So these funds will be deposited directly into their new bank account and expended from that bank account. And that bank account was opened at United Community Bank. And I think you have the documents there in front of you. So I will need a motion to approve opening this new bank account.
So moved.
Got a motion and second. The usual sign, motion carries.
And I think today we have around $67,000, and we will move that to this new bank account.
Next item we got is the Granicus proposal for short-term rental software for Mitchell County.
Okay, and I'm gonna continue on and give you a little bit of background about occupancy tax and people that pay occupancy tax. One of the questions I've had more often than anything, and of course, when the CDA board was formed, this question came up again. Well, how do you know if you're collecting all the tax you should be collecting? So Alan and I and Matt, our EDC director, watched and spoke with this company Granicus, and watched a video. And what their company does is, and within 24 hours, he had me a lot of information about rentals in Mitchell County. And with their software, they're able to very quickly identify every short-term rental in our county and pinpoint them on the map and give us very detailed information about each one of these, including pictures. I was personally excited because that's been a real complaint for years. Was even able to show us the growth from last year to this year in short-term rentals that are being advertised and listed. Long story short, in talking about this, I reached out to Mr. Hyder in the tax office and talked to him about this, showed him this information about how many is out there. And we quickly realized that there's probably only about 25% of these that he even knows about and is collecting business and property taxes off of, because if we don't know about these and they're not listed properly in the tax office, we could be losing tax money on this through business personal. If they're not paying occupancy tax, we're also losing sales tax on these people. Sales tax that would come to us. The occupancy tax obviously is going to go to the TDA, but it is lost revenue that we're not getting.
I'm confused by Davis. So if you're in an Airbnb, you're paying sales tax and occupancy tax on both.
You should be collecting 9.75% from that rental.
The county's,
2%,
2%, state
4.70.
4.75, and occupancy 3.
Mhm. And then if Blair doesn't have them listed as a business and he's not sending them the correct forms to collect business personal taxes, then we're losing.
And to kind of put that in perspective, anything that's inside that unit, furnishing wise, is taxable personal property if it's been held for short-term rental.
So
Furniture, fixtures, all that stuff.
any type of estimated cost that we're losing, rough guess, rough estimate. Opinion on your end, Blair.
I would go so far as to say it would probably cover the cost of this software.
And see, until we get a very detailed list, we don't know that for sure. What I was very excited because this is the first tool that I've ever came across that could even help us identify this. So the cost for 1 year for this software and their service and for them to build our information for us completely is going to be about $9,400 for the year.
Can that be paid for out of TDA money?
It could if the TDA board approved to do that. If they chose to spend some of their money that way. My suggestion would be I would like for the county to purchase it for the first year. Let us learn the software. Let Blair utilize it. Let's share the information with Matt, with EDC, so he can kind of look at where our rentals are and help that way. Let us use it to allow the TDA to send letters out to these people that are not in compliance. These folks will help us do the letters. They will even send the letters for us if we want them to. They're going to tell us who's in compliance and who's not in compliance. Let's share the information, but let us kind of, I guess I want to say, test run it. Let's see if it's, worth it. I've even talked to Matt about maybe seeing if the EDC would consider splitting the cost with us because it's going to benefit them and us. It would also benefit the TDA. Maybe we could do a third. I think it's worth us pursuing it and seeing how much we can. If we can collect enough in sales tax and in business personal taxes to pay for it. And the guy told me, and Alan, 90% of his clients reap enough to pay for the cost of the
And
software.
their clients are counties, townships. I wanted to shoot a question back before, and I know y'all probably know this, but just for the record, the county is responsible for collecting occupancy tax. That is correct. So that's kind of where we come from when we look at, us maybe purchasing this, since we are, and we will be getting value out of this as a county with the 2% county rate sales tax if these folks are in fact not remitting their state and county as well. We'll have to see, and there is a value.
Sales tax goes completely to the school, correct?
No, sir.
So how much of it do we get?
We keep 1 penny of it, and then the 2 half cents, the school gets 60% of one, and the school gets 30% of one. So we keep the difference. It's a formula. I'll have to sit down. We get 1 full cent, then the 2 half cents, which make up of the other cent. The 2 half cents out of 1 half, the school gets 60, and the other half they get 30. So we get 40 of one, and we get 70 of one.
So the short answer is we would collect.
School gets.
Clear.
It's gonna benefit the school banks.
Okay.
If we collect more sales tax, it's gonna benefit everyone. So I guess what I'm asking is it something that you think is worthwhile?
There was no long-term agreement, it was just,
It's 1 year to 1 year. And he did tell me it'll take him about 8 weeks from the time we tell him we want to do this for him to build out our system and to train.
So tell me this, maybe, so my mind's just sitting here turning with the Airbnb stuff. If someone is advertising their unit on Airbnb is obligated to collect
Yes, they
those
are.
taxes.
They are,
So-
unless that person signs a waiver saying they don't want it. Okay, they will do it, but there is an option for them to sign a waiver out of that.
that means they're opting to, they're giving a word that they're going to.
That they're going to.
Right.
Send it in, so I'm
Right.
sure there might be some people that say they're going to.
I like the idea of using this to see, kind of where we stand, but I like the idea of cost sharing. More.
So where I was going with that question is, how many out of 100% in Mitchell County would you say voluntarily come and surrender those taxes?
25%.
I mean,
You
do you
look
have,
at the number he says we have, which is 257. This is live information. He can pull this any day, anytime, and it shows updated
he
numbers.
says we have 257.
He says
Airbnbs.
we have like 257, and I can tell you right now that many people are not paying on it.
Is 57 of them paying?
About
25%.
You're losing 75%.
He identified 257, however, he found some duplicates. So he says he thinks there's 214 unique rental units, which means he had some that the computer threw out as possible duplicates. But what will happen is they will pull those and manually research them to see if they're duplicates or not. And what he scans, like every I forget how many different websites, their system scans to find these rentals. If you've advertised anywhere on the internet, they're gonna find it.
I don't know where you're at, besides was it BBRO?
VRV.
44.
But that probably, that don't just pick Airbnb, that picks short-term rental unit.
Any short-term rental. There are several people close to us using this system. Rutherford County's using it, Boone's using it, Floyd Rock's using it. Highlands is using it. He tried to look around us to give me some people that have started that are using this. Just the fact too that he told us the growth from last year to this year was 18%. It's really amazing to me.
Yeah, right.
But I knew that because before COVID, we collected $75,000. After COVID, it went to $145,000. So we know there was a lot of growth in short-term rentals, even with the people that were. The problem I think all of us have, or I have, is the people that are non-compliant, we don't know it, and the fact that even when Airbnb sends me a check every month, they don't send me a list of who rents. We still don't know.
You just send you a dollar amount.
They send me a dollar amount. That's all I know. So it's very hard to really, for the TDA board or for any of us to go out there and try to identify these people. We have no way of doing it.
And Ford just mentioned that if the TDA were to fund it, it would come out of the indirect monies, not the direct promotion monies. So
Yeah.
it would not be a part of that 67%. And as we stand, that, that's, we'll use up a lot of what that TDA would have in their indirect fund.
Plus, I wouldn't,
You looking for a motion on it tonight?
I'm looking for a motion. I am. If we're gonna do this, we need to do it. And if we're not gonna do it, then
Discussion before motion. Finance officer has recommended. But county managers indirectly
Yes, so
recommended, and I think what I heard
and I
from
think Blair's
Blair.
on
don't
board.
leave You out, but, and Matt,
Mhm.
but, the recommendation was we jumped the ship first, and we paid for it fully the first year. The second year, then we implement it if we choose to do it again the second year, and I want to see why we want that we split it in thirds. And there's a good possibility that it's not gonna cost us, we may not make any money, we'll break it even. And Brandon, I see where you're coming from. I would want to split it by thirds, but I don't want to take the TDA's possible money and indirect with them just getting started up and creating a new entity.
And let me mention one thing that I did not mention, and this is remiss on my part. When I did their budget, and it's in your budget ordinance that you have, I'm being very conservative with the TDA. They have got, just they're like any other government agency, okay? I had to budget a fund balance for them, and I had to budget a contingency. And I did 10% of each, okay? Because they need to build that up and at least try to. Every budget, a local government budget, has to have a fund balance and has to have a contingency. So when you take that out of the equation, and then we take out the fact that they have to have their own standalone audit, it's probably gonna cost $5,000, best guess that I have from talking to Ms. Gillespie. And then we have some advertising costs, because of course, we're gonna have to go out and advertise for an auditor, do a request for proposal for an auditor for them. So when you pull that out, they don't have a lot of money this first year to spend. And they already have some advertisement and some commitments that they're gonna have to look at. So I guess that was one reason I didn't want to burden them with $9,400. We did present it to the board, the TDA board, that we had looked at this and gave them the information for them to look at, because they're very concerned about not knowing who's in compliance with paying occupancy tax and who is, and I can't give them that information because I don't have it. And
Well, maybe she and I've had this discussion for 3 years,
I know.
and
I've
Sounds
had
like
it
this-
for 23 years.
sounds like this is the
Jeff,
first.
I know.
answer that we've had.
This has been a sore spot with me for years. I mean, I can send out booklets when somebody says they see somebody renting, and I can look on my list and see they're not paying. I can send out a booklet and a questionnaire, and I get back, well, I'm renting through VRBO or Airbnb, or I'm not renting anymore, or I'm just letting my relatives stay there, or various, I've gotten every answer under the book. Yeah, so,
So, hey, where's the feedback if we identify some people that are non-compliant?
this company actually has letters, non-compliant letters that they will send out. Very official looking if we want to do that. And, I guess above that point, we'd have to talk to our attorney and see where we could go from, if the non-compliant. The guy told us, and Alan can probably speak to the fair national, when you send them a very official looking non-compliant letter, and he includes in that your advertisement for rentals
Pictures of your.
and pictures of your house and your tax card, and they send you everything. They're more apt to say, hey,
It's not a generic block letter.
yeah, it's a very personal with your advertisements and your information. They can even tell us how many days you've rented that property.
So where would you be sending out those non-compliance letters as well from the tax office, or is that?
No, we're probably the one you said, okay,
Mhm.
and you hit it all at one time. And the other thing, if you've got absentee owners that are running rentals and they live in another state, they're on the hook for income tax here in North Carolina, which generated. So,
And we do have the right to audit the books of those who are supposed to be collecting occupancy tax, the same as the state or federal government might. We can select someone for audit and require them to present documents and take enforcement actions if needed.
And this company did go even further to tell us that based on the information they had on that particular day that you pulled this, what was the average rental in this county, $149 a night? They even had that information, so I may be fooled, but I was impressed with the information they gave us in a short amount of time.
And we get analytics off of it. If it's not giving us good numbers after a year, we can say, okay,
Yeah,
done.
I'm good that we try to scrap this company for a year and we proceed kind of looking at it maybe at every other year or every 3 years purchasing this program. I think that gives the most bang for our buck. We probably don't have a lot of change year to year, but I move that we try and fund it this first year.
Still a motion? Second, all in favor, vote please.
thank you.
Motion carries.
I hope I didn't sell you something that's not gonna work.
You will hear about it.
It's better than that.
Car, put it up somewhere. Resolution, next item on the list tonight is the resolution delegating the refund authority for overpayments of excise tax. And I will read that resolution here. Resolution delegating refund authority for overpayments of excise tax, whereas all grantors of interest in real property are required to pay an excise tax to the register of deeds in the county in which the real estate is located before recording the instrument of conveyance unless otherwise exempted. Whereas on occasion, excise taxes are overpaid due to such actions as recording a deed in the wrong county or mistakenly paying the tax when exempt. Whereas North Carolina General Statute 105-228.37 authorizes the Board of County Commissioners to conduct a hearing to determine whether a refund should be granted. Whereas North Carolina General Statute 105-228.37 was recently amended by Session Law 2022-50, adding a new subsection authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to delegate by resolution to either or both the county manager or the county finance officer the discretion to grant a request for a refund for overpayments of excise tax paid in accordance with statute, and whereas this board has determined that it's the best interest of the citizens and residents of the county to delegate this task. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners for the Member County of Mitchell as follows. That the county manager and county finance officer, either of them, are hereby authorized to grant requests for refund for overpayments of excise taxes paid in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 105-22837. That this resolution shall be effective upon its adoption this day, the 7th of November 2022. I have a motion that I sign this into. So moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item on the list tonight is petition for a refund of overpayment of taxes and fees for Miss Michelle Ford. And we need to vote to refund the overpayment of $200 in excise tax. I have moved.
So moved.
Second.
I have a question, is the erroneous recording,
It was over in this recording.
is it our error, or?
It was their error. She upped it, this typed it up by $200.
Wants a clarification on that?
We got a motion, then second, we have a second. All in favor, vote for the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item on the list tonight is our friendly finance director. For budget amendment number 2.
Okay, budget amendment number 2. Wasn't a lot of change in the general fund, overall increase of 256, 263, for a total budget of 23,273,223. Not a lot to point out in there. It's a balanced general fund budget amendment. Of course, you'll see in there, we took the money out from occupancy tax because we're going to move it over. And you'll see that in our newly formed Fund 24, which is next on the second page, we are moving the money and setting the budget for that newly fund. Fund 29 vehicle tax, there was no dollar change. When I did the budget ordinance correctly, but when I went to key the numbers into my finance general ledger, I failed to key in a 2 and I left it at 21 instead of 22. Failed to up my year budget, so I had to fix that. So that was just a typo on my part, but I have to fix it. And Fund 44 is our law enforcement center grant. And you'll see that what I had to do there was we had all the money in that grant in our scope of work and construction and improvements. In the very beginning, when we did the scope of work for this project, we did not have that we were going to purchase property. We thought we were going to put it on property we already had. So what I had to do is go in there and do an amendment and move some money out of construction and improvements and actually put it in property purchase because I had to spell that out clearly in the grant that we did a property purchase. So that's all I have in that budget amendment for you. Do I have any questions on any of those?
Any no questions, I have a motion, we approve the budget amendment. So moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item on the list is the school lottery funds transfer request.
Let me just address that one too. This is gonna be request number, I'd say 4 or 5 for them on this grant, but anyway. It's a request to pay the Cope Architecture bill that was dated October 14th, and the amount's $174,654.63. Their board has already approved this lottery transfer. So if this board would kindly approve then we'll get this thing into Raleigh so we can get them the funds they need to pay for parking lot.
Have a motion, we pay the school funds, lottery funds transfer reports. Discussion. Question.
Okay.
First.
Will this affect? How do I phrase this? Will this affect the amount of money that was estimated in the help? Offset the extended debt from the building to school, I know their grant was 40 million.
This is part of that 40 million.
Okay.
Yeah, they spent like 1.4 million, a little over. And this, well, it's right here on your thing. Once we pay this bill there, they will have spent 1,581,997.24. And that's on your lottery worksheet that they've sent. So
Okay.
what they're doing is they're drawing down on that 40 million.
And this is my bad, misinterpretation on my part. My sales tax lottery transfer. So,
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a lot. It's not sales tax, no, sir. It's,
So it comes
it's
out-
part of their lottery,
okay,
$40 million grant.
okay.
Any other discussions? Hearing none, do I have a motion, we transfer the funds? So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. Next, item on the list tonight is late application for property tax relief. Blair, hi.
I've got, 12 folks that we've taken late applications on for tax relief. And, you all have to approve them going from the.
Mr. Chairman, you would need to find good cause for the late application as part of your motion. I believe you did this last month. So it would need a finding as to good cause for the applicants being late, as well as proper basis under their application.
Speaking of. County there, I didn't follow that one too good.
Yes, sir. Your citizens are required to meet a deadline to get these applications in.
Which we voted to extend the deadline.
You voted to receive the information, but you still need a finding that there's good reason why they weren't. Which can include, I believe previously you had stated, was a lack of advertisement or the lack of publication as to this option for the citizens to take advantage of it. You would just need, in your motion, since we are technically late, it just needs to state there's a good reason why they're late. In addition to meeting the criteria, which I believe is the high grade.
Yeah, we do that, and they would qualify.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, considering everything that Councilor Eggers has said, I make a motion that we accept these because of criteria met for late application. Is that sufficient, sir?
Yes, sir, that'll be our motions.
I have a second. Thank you, sir. All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item on the list tonight is the quit claim deed to the town of Bakersville for 0.05 acres. Basically, we need to vote to deed over 0.05 acres along the Bakersville Creek Walk. I think we talked about this the last time down there. Any questions on that discussion?
There were no encumbrances due to FEMA on that. I believe the board had tasked me to research that, and after some title searches, the title was very vague, which required a quit claim deed to convey the county's interest to the town. So that's what is proposed in this part of the agenda, is whether you make a motion to convey that via quit claim to the town of Bakersville. It's surrounded by their land on every side, and it would make it easy for them to do a large survey of their big area down along the creek walk.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we grant this quick claim deed to the town of Bakersville for 0.05 acres.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item is our county manager is going to discuss the SRO grant for school.
Yes, so if you all will remember in the September, I believe it was the September 4th, 5th meeting, the school presented on an SRO grant that they were pursuing. This grant basically called for an 80-20 match for the wages and salaries of the law enforcement officers. It provided up to $44,000 towards the wages and salaries, with us doing an $11,000 match. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mace. It also had some startup to get the officers equipped with it. So about a week ago, we found out that the grant did go through, and the grant was to be effective July 1st. And as we went into this year, it's already November, and maybe we'll have, if the board so approves, we could probably get that grant fulfilled this month with some folks that Donald has in mind. But we wanted to have some discussion with the board before we move forward on that, about where they would want to go with that, because in the September meeting, there was no vote on that, is what our clerk is and our clerk is stating that. So I'll open that up for discussion. I'll be glad to answer any questions y'all might have, to my knowledge, and maybe Mavis can pitch in with me. And I know we got Donald here as well to talk about where he stands with that.
Is that grant, as far as startup costs, does that include like uniform?
So we will have to incur the startup costs to get the officer equipped. That grant will cover the wages and salaries only on the 80-20 match.
We know the exact cost to the county.
Yes, I think we've kind of gotten an approximate cost. I won't say an exact cost. We're budgeting out on the startup about 11,000 per officer, for SRO officer, that is, and we'll be covering 3 of those. So that we would be in the ballpark of $33,000 to outfit these folks to come into the school. That would include 2 firearms, a taser, body camera, bulletproof vest, uniforms. See, what am I missing here?
3 laptop,
Laptop, a
and a
radio.
handheld radio, and a telephone.
So it equips these folks with everything that that Donald would see fit to have them if they're working in that situation in that area.
What
So
about cars? We got any plan for getting?
We've
cars?
identified 3 used cars. The school has agreed to transfer 1 back to us that they had previously, that we had given them previously, and they're gonna get it back. And then I think we have a couple of spares that Don wanted to get worked on now to get brought up to speed, and the other one an officer's using, so his truck gets some warranty work done, and then we'll be able to release it. So I think we've identified 3 somewhat reliable vehicles, right?
Yes. Somewhat.
So Donald, these gonna be 10-month or 12-month employees.
What I'm looking at right now is it starts out as 12 months, but I have had somebody that came with the interest of it, a retired highway patrolman, if I get your all's approval to go this route, a retired highway patrolman that would be willing to take this till the end of the year with his expertise and everything, and he's gonna look into it at the start of next year, be able to use him. I've got 1 person already in mind to hire that will be a 12-month employee. The one thing about these employees is gonna be different. They're actually gonna be under me. So whenever they're not working at the schools, then there'll be deputy sheriffs out here on the road. So we'll need cars that you're gonna be able to drive back and forth, and it's not gonna stay for us. So we're gonna have to think of that. We don't have a great number of spares. We thank you for all what y'all done for us, but our spares was good enough before that we were able to donate on to the county. But now, we're running short on spares. And the problem is you can get out here at night and you might wreck, you might hit a deer. So we're afraid about that, but, I think this.
Can we order spares? I mean, are they available?
I have located, thanks to my staff, Chrissy spent one all day calling every state vendor in the state, and we've located 2 trucks that are they're inbound, they're en route, we put our name on them. And, for the sheriff's department, they actually had budgeted to get 3 vehicles this year. We have gotten one previously that we have located that they have already gotten, right? I think you've already
Yes,
got it. These 2, we put our name on and hoping we would get by the end of this fiscal year. They're not sure where they are, but they're en route for this bill. We also have located, a 3rd vehicle, which we'll talk about if we can get it, and we may get another vehicle that may not go to Donald's department, but may be available for use for anybody within the county, because what we've got going on right now is, like Donald said, nobody has spares, and right now we have some departments that have cars that are down in the shop and we don't have a spare to give them. So we may have the ability, if it becomes available and the board is agreeable, going ahead and getting that 3rd vehicle and using it for, say, if DSS has a car or 2 down and needs a spare. Recreation right now is down 1 vehicle and needs a spare. Donald's people ends up with 1 or 2 having worked at it at the same time and needs a spare. We may have one that we could rotate, and that's just an idea that I've been thinking about if we can get 3. But we've got our name in the pot, and we hope we can get Donald the other 2 that was in his budget for this year. We've not been able to locate vehicles for DSS. We have 2 in the budget for them this year, and we've not been able to locate them at this time.
So does the 80-20 match, think so the 80-20 match pay for, SROs for 10 months or 12 months? Will the 2 additional months cost us extra money in addition to this $33,000 match? Or are they 12-month employees?
So the SRO grant is a 10-month grant. We are running them through our financials on a 12-month with the idea that Donald can use them during the 2 months. That there will be school functions also going on, or Parks and Rec functions going on, where they can be of use. And also with turnover and vetting on staff, it gives you the opportunity to see how well that person is as you're on board and to see if they're a good fit. So, and I guess as we look at that, it's a full look at how that 12 months goes. It's going to be Donald's idea. They're working under him. He might choose to say, this isn't working out. It could be.
So is the $11,000, that's 12 months salary? That's the match and the 2 extra months.
No, we're not.
The maximum amount that we can use is $44,000 per employee for the grant. We have to put 11 with it, so $55,000 per each of those 3 employees is the maximum we can use, and that's salary and benefits only. Now, with this being the fact that we can't get this started till sometime this month, we will not utilize all of that money this year because we didn't get it started in July. So we'll not use all the grant money this year. Kim Hodgson feels like that some of that money might even roll over to go with the money we have next year. She doesn't know. We don't know what's going to happen with that money. We may just not be able to utilize that part of the grant because we can't use the entire $44,000 this year. But
And talk about the renewing of
the
the grant.
renewing of the grant, as long as the midterm report is due, which is in March, and the June end of the year report is done, which Kim Hodgson said that she will do, and she's responsible for doing. I'll get her all the information, she'll do the report. If those reports are done, we automatically get this money again for next year. It's actually a 2-year grant cycle. We automatically get the money for next year. At the end of the second year, we will have to reapply, or the school will have to reapply for these positions.
So what would we do? How would we absorb those positions in 2 years if we didn't get that grant? We had to pay the full $60,000 a year per 3 employees.
It have to be absorbed into the sheriff's department budget. And for clarity's sake here, those 2 months that's not covered will come out of Donald's sheriff's department budget for those employees.
Right, if those employees choose to work over the summer.
And if Donald, for some reason, says, I can't use them anymore, then it's up to the county to decide what we're going to do with that 2 months worth of salary. Where's it going to come from?
May I speak? You know, with this day and time, you know, with what's went across the nation, you know, with the school shootings and everything, I couldn't imagine not wanting a school resource officer in every school. You know, I'm the only county in the state, from what I talked to, the Sheriff's Association, that actually has school resource officers that's not directly under my supervision. You know, they're using my pair of arrests, they're using my deputy sheriff's badge, but I'm not necessarily their boss. This here will put them directly under me. The other way that started before that I was sheriff, you know, I feel that I want to be the bosses of this program. The other counties in the state, they're working these employees 12 months. Now, if I can get somebody that's wanting to do it, that's part-time, that will do it and obligate me for the rest of the year, I'm okay with that. If the county's okay with that. But I feel that anybody that ever steps into the role of sheriff, to say that we don't want a school resource officer or anything, I mean, you'd be crazy. I mean, it's like the metal detector at the courthouse. I mean, it's one of them jobs you have to have somebody. So I do ask if y'all would approve this. It may be something in 2 years that we do have to absorb, but this is for the safety of our children.
Now, to clarify again what Donald just said, point me out if I'm wrong. We're only bringing these 3 new SROs under Donald. The existing ones will stay the way they are, and he will not be their boss.
For the time.
For the
time being.
But to clarify now, they are Donald is their boss right now. And that was, we had a meeting with schools about, a week or so ago, and it was stated in that meeting that it is understood that Donald is the supervisor of all SROs, and that his badge is what basically drives that as sheriff. He is, they work under his badge. Clarify if I'm wrong on that, but that's what our discussion was.
If they do something that I don't think's right, I can end their job by just revoking their certification. And that would be what I would do. You know, I'm law enforcement in their school, and you know, that's what they're there doing. They're being school resource officer, law enforcement. We want to work with the schools. So I think we'll have a great relationship. I don't see any change that's gonna be in place. We're there for the safety of our children.
Is the motion or we need on this one? I'm sorry, Brandon.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, and I totally get the time and nature of today's society as both a teacher and having 2 boys in the school system. I guess the hardest part for me is that, at budget time, the school cut 9 positions. And, we may have been, not we may have, we were unfairly blamed for that. And when you cut instructional staff, that's a lost educational opportunity that our kids are being deprived of. So that's the biggest struggle that I have with this, is that we can find the funding, $65,000, $70,000 to fund SROs. We couldn't find the funding to save any instructional positions. Now I just need to get that off my chest.
Good point made. It was also pointed out, as Ms. Masters will remember, that we only funded 1 STEM teacher at the forum, which was ludicrous. we funded two. They chose to use the money separate. And I just needed to say that. Sheriff Street, I totally support the adding of these two SROs. I hope it'll never need.
Pray we never do.
But you know, I've got two young daughters back in the school system. I've got two grandchildren in the school system, and this is not the same school system when I went to school. Where you guys went to school, I'm older than every one of y'all sitting at this table. It's a scary time. And the other thing, I hate to turn down 80% of free money, you know, for 2 years. So, and I think you've stated that there is a need.
Yes.
Whether you use them at the courthouse, whether you use them at transport, however you choose to use them, that allows your officers now to be more focused on staying in the county or.
You know, you think of youth in a terrible situation, but there's a lot of stuff, and I know you see a lot of it over at the schools where they're busy over there having to work on situations, texts and making threats to the students and everything. And so there's a lot more than just the school safety, which is the most important part. And, whenever the schools is up and running, it wouldn't hurt to have, if we did close some schools, 2 at the high school, because they're extremely busy there at the high school with the issues that goes on.
I'd just like to make a mention that I guess 6 months, 7 months ago, whenever the Parkland incident happened, there was a lot of talk over the next 24 hours about SRO officers. And I remember reaching out to each board member on this board and saying that we needed to be precautionary rather than reactionary, that I felt we needed an SRO in every school in Mitchell County. I appreciate what Commissioner Pittman has said and also what Commissioner Hardin has said, but I think thankfully the last vote I get to take maybe is to put some officers in our schools. And I do think that's important. And I appreciate Donald and your work with the school system. And I appreciate the hard conversations this board has had over a lot of issues related to school in the last little bit.
Well,
But I think this is important.
for me, I kind of go back to our ambulance conversation. And, I ended up kind of eating my words there a little bit with the ambulance and ended up needing those emergency services. And so I would hate to think that, I had the opportunity to put SROs in the school and chose not to, and then have to eat my words in that situation. It is kind of a bitter pill for me to swallow, both ways, but with that said,
So will they be hired in under the county's policy as far as pay structure and all of that goes?
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify that.
And we will, yes.
But for clarity purposes on Commissioner Masters there, we will hire them under the county's policies, but the existing SROs, even though Donald is their authority now,
They
nothing
will-
changes for them.
Right, they are at the
We have
school.
opted not to go that route. Those folks have retirement.
Right, and that's why I was wanting to make sure we're not
And we're not
changing the
wanting to
existing
do that
SROs.
at this point, unless there's a legal issue that would require us to do so. And
We're currently under a memorandum of understanding as to the existing 3 that runs through August of, I believe it's 2023. So that issue would not be something to revisit until that time, if you choose to do so.
But these 3 will be hired as Mitchell County employees and Mitchell County benefits and under the pay scale. And of course, that's gonna vary a little bit depending on their experience, of course. But the grant does specify the maximum amount allowable is the 44,000 per. So, but we have already looked at that for the people.
All right, thanks. I just need clarity on that.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we fund this grant match and help put a SRO officer in every school in Mitchell County.
I'll second that motion, but I think, we need to have a hard look at the budget come April. Make some good decisions about, the future of our students.
And for the fact that I've got to do a future budget amendment, can you modify that to say, to approve the, match, the salary match and the, startup cost? Because I'm gonna do a budget amendment in Donald's budget to, purchase the additional equipment that we need for these three additional. And you'll see that in the future budget amendment, but if you don't care, can you clarify that? To make sure the board understands that there is additional money to start up.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we fund this grant request match, including the salary modification and startup cost for these 3 new officers, and that we help put an SRO officer in every school in Mitchell County.
I will second that.
All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item, thank you, Don. Next item on the list, is the broadband, Catherine survey. County, you want to-
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Steve, Chair Steve. So we've got some great opportunities in front of us as far as getting broadband into Mitchell County, and I'm talking like, a lot of times they talk about 60 or 70% coverage. We got the potential for 90 to 100% coverage with this grant. In the past, we've had some grant opportunities that's given broadband. This CAB grant comes after the great grant, which we've got already bringing in some broadband on French Broad's lines. So whatever's the deficiency that we have, this grant comes in and fills in the gaps. It needs a few things, and I want to put that on your radar. There's probably not going to be any motions out of this or any need for approval, but we do need a survey from the citizens of Mitchell County as it pertains to their internet. And there's a couple ways to get to that. Number one, you can get that link off of www.ncbroadband.gov/North Carolina Broadband Survey. But if you go to ncbroadband.gov, they got a link off that website. You can also go to the Mitchell County website, www.mitchellcounty.org, and do those surveys. Put those surveys out on your Facebook and invite folks to fill those out. The surveys will dictate a lot of the need. So if you don't show your need, we can't get that coverage. There are implications in this grant, and we're partnering with EDC in this with Matt. The implications are if we get a lot of broadband coverage, we can have a lot more economic possibilities within our county. So just have that on your radar. I won't spend much time on it. I think they would like, was made, were you here like the end of December, we'd like to get.
Yeah, they need
survey
it
things.
as soon as possible. They want to start running with this money as soon as they can complete all the the great grant applications, and they hope to get those finished this month. They need to start with this program, and they need to spend $400 million this year. Because there's opportunity for more money next year. So this is all coming down from the federal government, and it's, basically it's coming from some COVID monies. So they have $400 million to spend, and they need to spend it quickly.
Or get all online.
It's online.
I forwarded you guys an email there.
And you need to take it from your home, or in your case, your business and your home. Okay, but when you take the survey, and I've done it from my home, it's going to ask you some questions, and then it's actually going to test your internet speed up and down. If your down is not is less than, you have to be at least 25 megabytes down and 3 up. If you're below that, then it's the same thing as not having internet, basically. So anybody that's got the old internet speeds, they kind of gonna put you in that category with no internet. So those, they not only want to put internet where there is no internet, they also want to bring the speed up above a certain criteria. So you need to do it from your home.
Thank you.
And needs to be every home and business.
If you've got a business, yeah.
No motions on this, just one of information.
The next item on the list tonight is the Mosley contract amendment for the site selection.
I'll speak to that. So, we are going to undergo site selection for the rec center that we are looking at, that we talked about earlier. So, Special Projects Manager Heiss has been working with us, and we are needing to do some, side-by-side analysis on what the sites would look like, what the cost of those sites would look like, and the easiest way to do that is to amend our current contract that we have open with Mosley. And it's not being used from the funds for the sheriff's department, for the record, but they're doing an amendment to the contract to make a little streamline ease of running that through their process. And what that basically will do is allow us to have some analysis on our two site options for the rec center, as far as giving us what's going to be the best to fit, the cost analysis, how that fits into the landscape as far as linkage to the utilities, things we cannot discern. So at a future meeting in December, after they do site analysis, either they will speak to you or they will have a report to me or Mr. Heiss as to giving you a comparison of where we might want to start this rec site. And we hope to have that for you in December if you'll sign this amendment to their contract. And that has not got any money on the line yet, but we need that first before they can do that.
Mr. Chairman, as part of that motion, if you would need to waive the request for qualification process based upon Mosley's work and experience on site review that they have previously done. So normally you would have to submit and ask firms for qualifications to determine who is the best firm to do this for you and then negotiate with them. In this case, since they have already done some of the legwork in Mitchell County, it'd be appropriate to do a waiver of that request for qualifications. But that determination does have to be made by the board to waive that.
Even though we've already entered into a contract with them on the project, you still have to
Our contracts, I'm sure.
And we're not-
Yeah, we're not doing an RS.
sorry, that's right, that's another project that we're still sites.
Right. So yes, this would be waiving qualifications within the assistant.
As Attorney Ford stated, we'll need a motion to.
What are you looking at me for?
Yeah, it's his last day, we're just gonna look for motions anywhere we can get them.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we enter into this contract for site selection on the Mitchell County Recreation Facility, and that we move forward with Mosley based on their previous work in Mitchell County and knowing the landscape of the county, and that we do so with an understanding that we are waiving the qualification process for other architecture firms.
Excellent, sir.
Thank you.
All in favor, for the usual side. We got one, I probably got, I'm gonna miss him. You think you are? The next item tonight on the agenda is let's see. Sorry. Why can't I see this? I just something ain't right here, but now it's coming together, coming into focus. Resolution making Veterans Memorial new courthouse and permanent fixture on the courthouse grounds. I'm gonna read this resolution here. To designate the Veterans Memorial at Mitchell County Courthouse a permanent fixture on courthouse grounds. Whereas the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners recognizes the patriotic and unselfish contribution of past, present, and future veterans in their military service. Whereas November 11th is Veterans Day, we where we honor men and women who have served in the U.S. and Armed Forces. Whereas the Mitchell County Courthouse with the address of 328 Longview Drive, Bakersfield, North Carolina, currently has a memorial located adjacent to the main courthouse entrance bordering the southern parking area. Whereas the said memorial is approximately 40 foot by 60 foot in size and paved with bricks that recognize citizens who have served in the armed forces. Whereas the said memorial needs to be protected from future development and formally designated as a place to remember our loved ones who served, including those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. Now therefore be it resolved that Mitchell County Board of Commissioners do hereby recognize the duty, honor, sacrifice of those who served and have served to make our county, country, and world a better place. Be it further resolved that the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners hereby designates the said memorial as a permanent and sacred fixture on the Mitchell County Courthouse grounds. Adopted this the 7th day of November 2022, Mitchell County. Motion for me to sign that one. Second. All in favor? Motion carries. That's the item of our discussions tonight. Is a timber bid award. We got to vote for the award the bid for the timber in Michigan.
All right, I'm gonna give you some details on that to make that a public record. There was a bid for the landfill timber, which is owned by both Mitchell and Yancey counties. So our board will be required to recognize that vote to recognize that as the accepted bid. So the name of the bidder on that property was Marty Ledford with Ledford Brothers Incorporated. The winning bid on that for this property was $111,500 for the timber on this property. They were required to put $11,150 down payment on that. And so Lynn Austin, their county manager in Yancey County, has seen that that has been done in the proper process. So I'll just need a move that we accept that bid award.
What was that amount?
So the bid was that took this contract was $111,500 by Marty Ledford.
The acreage was.
I want to say that was a 40-acre tract or thereabouts.
Yeah,
It has-
They're just bidding on the timber. They're not bidding on the.
right,
A lot of softwoods and pines
okay.
and that on that.
So will we receive 56,000-ish of that?
No, it will go towards repairing the berm. So, and then anything left over will be an account for maintenance, the landfill.
Capital.
Gotcha. So moved.
Second. All in favor? Motion carries. We have a motion, we approve the consent agenda this evening. So moved. Second. All in favor, vote for, second.
Second.
All in favor, vote for the usual sign. Finance officer.
I do have a couple of things. I apologize.
I've got anything left and if I've got any voice left. I do want to talk about a couple of things. There was a new, actually got tied onto a bill, in the legislature in July that kind of slipped by without anybody noticing it. That basically says currently I'm under a bond of $250,000 currently. That's been my bond as a finance director. The new legislation that came out said that now the minimum fidelity bond that will be required is 10% of your annual budgeted funds or a minimum of $1 million. There's been a lot of chatter about this. This goes into effect January the 1st. You know me, I don't wait till the last minute, so I went ahead and we have contacted our bonding agent, and I have completed the paperwork to see about getting my bond increased from 250 to 1 million, so I can hopefully get it in place by January the 1st. I do not know what the cost of that's gonna be at this point. My bond now is something like $953. So there will be an increase in the cost, for that bond. The problem has been, and it was actually talked about a little bit last week when I went to the, our insurance meeting. A lot of people are having difficulty getting that bond. Number one, the finance officers don't have enough experience, so the companies are not wanting to bond them. And they also bond you based on your personal credit score and your personal asset.
Liabilities.
So, I don't have my approval letter. I actually thought I did, but when I reread the email, it's just that it's been approved to be submitted to the bonding company, and I filled out everything I need to fill out and answered all the questions, and I don't have my approval back yet. What are they gonna do if people can't get this? Because I think there's been some real issues with this. I don't know what's gonna happen. Unfortunately, nobody really caught this in time to challenge this, and so it didn't pass the legislature. So I guess people will do the best they can do.
The good news is, Mavis, it's often if you can't get bonded, you can put up your personal assets to cover yourself, and we know you have plenty of those.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, really. Okay, so I just wanted to bring you in, on that, because there's a lot of chatter about that. And I have done what I need to do. So I'll fill you in later on how that works out. Another thing, we talked about a future budget amendment. I do want to say that the closure did happen on the building on Baker Lane for our future sheriff's department. So after that closing, we have transferred all the utilities and the insurance on that building to our name. It did not make it in this budget amendment, but I have set up a new department for that building, just like all of our other buildings, and wanted to budget those utilities for the remaining part of this year. Of course, we didn't know when we did the budget, we were going to purchase that building. Just so you know, I am just letting you know ahead of time, we've done that, and we're gonna have some utility expenses on that building for the rest of this year. And you'll see that on the next budget amendment. The other thing is we talked about another pot of ARPA money that I did not know we were going to get, and it's going to come over 2 years. I called it the tribal money because I thought that's who it was, the only people that were going to get it. But anyway, we actually got this pot of money because for the last several years, the federal government had cut back on giving us our money on what's called payment in lieu of taxes. They had reduced that funding for several years, and so people that did not give their 100% of that money, and we were one of them, got some of this second pot of ARPA money. So we did already, I filled out the paperwork, we did get our first installment of $62,194 a couple weeks ago, so that has been deposited in the bank, and you will see that also in a future budget amendment. I think that's all I have. You had your financial reports for the month in your information. If you have any questions about that. And then I will say bye because I really appreciate working with you, Brian. I will miss you. You've been great commissioner to work with, and always being very helpful and open, and even though we didn't always agree, we like to,
that made it more fun, didn't it?
we debated several issues and, didn't always agree, but I do appreciate all you do. And consider you a friend and hope you will continue to. Thank you.
Yes, we'll talk about a few things here, so, I want to thank this board for that resolution for that Veterans Memorial on the courthouse grounds. I walked with an old veteran there, and he's he looked it over and it meant a lot to him. I know that where I live, that's gonna be real happy about that. It being Veterans Day week, I just, I want to thank all those veterans that have served and, furthermore, just to add to it, everybody that serves their country, those patriots out there. I thank y'all. And, also in relation to Veterans Day, here at our county administrative office, we have a little memorial with some flags and some plaques outside. That has got a facelift now. It looks really nice out there. I've seen that. So it's really good. Take a look at that when you get a chance. We got that done last week and it really looks nice out there. Burn Buddy, it's been good working with you. I've enjoyed having you on this board and learning from you and really come to appreciate your points of information that you provide in these meetings and just getting to know you personally. I haven't known you prior to this job, and it's been a pleasure working for you and with you. And I wish you the very best, you and your family both the very best. I know you'll navigate prayerfully all through your career. So I really appreciate working for you. Also, just a little bit on our sheriff's department. We're in design phase. We're moving forward on that. I'm hoping that maybe by the end of this month, we might have a finalized design. So that'll be another little checkbox on the way. We're running these projects. We're busting on them. We're prioritizing them. I got 2 builds that I want to be directly involved in, and that's the sheriff's department and this rec center. And I'm hoping that also as we work on this middle school, that we can become more involved and work as a team to get this build knocked out and done well for our citizens with this grant money that we have coming forward. I believe that does it for me.
Thanks, County Man. Anything from the attorney desk this evening?
That's right. I enjoyed working with on numerous things, and we just point out the polls open in about 9 hours. And
Yes, we were all feeling the. I'm looking forward to.
Can't wait for it, Steve.
That's right. I'm trying to make it as quick as I can. Every turn it's we had a little excited. So, I don't think we have a need for a closed session this evening. Board comment, Commissioner Cook?
No comment.
Commissioner.
I did have one more comment that I wanted to make everybody aware of this evening on board members. It was brought to my attention today before I left work that there was 10 people from different fire departments, a few being from Ledger, a few being from Cruise Pond, and I'm not sure the other entities or the other people that have received these letters, but they have received these letters from Maine Community College. And we're told that they take some healthy wellness classes, they would receive a $500 check, and I'm assuming that would be the total checks that several other people I know who have received. They registered prior to August the 10th of this year and completed the class on October the 26th, and then how they took the test, they were told they would not receive a $500 check because all the money was gone. If you could maybe, if I could ask you if the board's okay with that, to maybe get some clarity on that before I jump to any conclusions.
That's on that board as well. I will reach out as well. To me, that'll work.
And I can confirm with at least 3 of the 10 individuals that they all received these letters in the mail. And prior to the registration date that I have listed, that there was still money. And literally the night they went to take their test, there's no money. So.
We can follow up on that, so what we can find out. Thank you for bringing it up.
That's all I got.
Commissioner Hart?
I'm good.
Commissioner Brownstone?
One last thing. This is Veterans Day week, and I just want to say I do appreciate all of our veterans in Mitchell County and the sacrifices they've made. Green is the color that recognizes veterans. It means they are heard, they are seen, they are appreciated. So I would encourage everyone, if you can find a green porch light this week, put that in your porch light and shine it for our veterans. And on a final note as well, to Mavis's point, I've said to several people when they've asked me about how I'm feeling, departing this role. I've loved governing and I've loved helping this county and being a part of trying to do good things for this county. I will miss that. Most of all, though, I will miss the people that I've formed friendships with. And that includes each of y'all, a lot of previous board members on this current board. And I consider this a great honor. You know, I know that being a commissioner is no great status and none of us are looking for status. But I'm a boy from Bandana, North Carolina. And my fellow citizens thought enough of me to allow me to serve them in this role. And that humbles me and makes me feel very special. But more than anything, I will miss seeing y'all on a regular basis. I do just live around the corner, so I'll be dropping in. You can't get rid of me that easy. But I've had a great privilege to not only govern, but to make friends. And as a pastor too, I've had a great privilege to pray with a lot of y'all about personal issues. And that humbles me more than anything. God bless each of y'all, and I love all of you.
We love you, Mr. Burns, and thank you for those kind words. The only thing I've got is I've thought about, I know our second meeting this month, is there any need for us to have that second meeting notice? That we've got anything?
I think we cleared everything in that second meeting with it being Thanksgiving week.
That's what I was thinking as well.
And I think it's gonna be very difficult to, I don't think we do.
That's was my thought as well. If the board is okay, I would say let's cancel that one. If that time's up, we'll reconvene in December, so. And that is all I have from Vern.
I've always wanted to do this.
Oh, let's do it.